All right, I am recording. And Jonathan, I am going to kick it over to you. So thank you everybody for joining our first fireside chat for the first cohort of the GO program for 2023. That is a mouthful. Our presenter tonight is Jonathan. He is with Journey Age. And he is going to be talking about discovering your purpose. And I'm so excited. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. And thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you very much. So good to be with all of you. Can you all see my screen all right?
I see it. We see it pretty good.
Great. Let me see if for some reason, I lost my controls now that I'm doing that. Okay. I think that'll work. Okay, great. Well, so happy to be with all of you tonight. You can still see now, is it showing hello? I can't see all of you, but I can see at least the presentation now. Okay, well, my name is Jonathan Cottrell. I'm so happy to be with all of you tonight, and it really is a privilege. I'm going to be what I would say is a purpose guide today, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about what that means. But first and foremost, the reason I'm here is to help discover more about you tonight. And that is what I am very interested in. And I don't know if all of you have heard this quote, but I really love this quote because life comes at us. And sometimes we think we have a plan, we have a purpose, we have things that are going great. And then it comes at us. And unfortunately, this is what it feels like. And this could be all sorts of different things in our life. It could be that we have experienced something completely unexpected in some way, shape, or form with relationships. It could be that we end up having to move. It could be that there are unexpected things within our work. Maybe we get laid off. There's all sorts of things within our life, and it can feel definitely surprising. And the fact is that even though it feels like this, sometimes it even feels worse than this. It doesn't even just feel like a punch in the mouth. It feels like we're just gearing up for something even worse, that it could be a real punch in the you-know-what. And so what I want to talk about tonight, and one of the ways that we can really help gear ourselves up for having direction and making sure that we're prepared for those punches that come at us, is that we want clarity. That clarity of vision is the key to achieving our objectives. And this quote comes from someone who would know something about it. He's a billionaire and has done quite a bit successfully in his life. But the question is, how do we get that clarity? How is it that we can find that clarity of vision that is so important? And I love this quote too, that where there is no vision, it can feel like we're dying. Literally, that no vision equals no life. So as we think about that in particular, the question is, where do we find that clarity of vision? And the fact is that we're always so often searching for that vision in other places, externally, rather than discovering it internally. We're using a pair of binoculars instead of using something that looks inward and really doing that inner work with ourselves. And so, how many of you remember this old commercial from
I love that commercial.
It's a great commercial.
Yeah.
We all remember it. So we got this owl, and this boy comes up and he says, how many licks? Well, actually he goes up to Mr. Turtle at first, and he says, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? And the turtle says, go ask Mr. Owl. Mr. Owl, he has all this wisdom. He goes, he asks, the owl takes to the Tootsie Pop, 1 lick, 2 lick, 3 lick, and then crunch. And he takes that quick bite to get to the center. And very often in our lives, we might want to take that quick bite to get to the center. We want it to be like a Tootsie Pop to really find that inner portion, that inner vision that we're talking about. But the fact is that it's not quick. There was actually a group, a college study that really looked at how is it that they could simulate even this idea of a human tongue. So they created this whole machine, a human tongue. They tried all these Tootsie Pops, and they actually gave the accurate number. Instead of it being 3 crunches or 3 licks and then getting to the center, like Mr. Al said, it takes about 364. Love this. It's like one number shy of a whole year. And it really does take a lot of licks to get to the center. And so the fact is, as much as we want to get to that good stuff so quickly, there isn't a shortcut. There's not a shortcut to getting to the good stuff. We have to take the licks. We have to do the work to really get at that inner vision and clarity of vision that we're looking for. So here are some questions that over the last 20 years of my life have been so important to me and have developed really a framework for arriving at some of these answers and having some clarity of vision and purpose in my own life. Who are you? And we'll talk about this momentarily, each one of these. We're going to really, though, spend a good amount of the rest of this time tonight just talking about who are you. Now, why do you wake up? There's a guru out there, Simon Sinek. He says, you got to find your why. And he says that's really the center. But I would contest that the thing that comes before answering your why or discovering your purpose is you have to know who you are. And then where should you focus your energy? Because we only have a finite amount of energy in our lives. And so where is it that based upon who you are and why you're waking up every single morning, you should focus your energy? What are you doing in this season of your life? Because things change. And as we said, even early on, life can feel like a sucker punch at times, and things will come at us. And then we have to roll with those punches. We have to evolve and change. And so it's important that we are able to answer, what is it I should be doing? Where should I be focusing my energy so that I'm doing the thing that is best for me in this time? How do you work best to fulfill your purpose? And then last but not least, when will you reassess? If I had to summarize all of these questions into a single word, it would look like this. Who is all about your identity. And all these other words are important, but I'm just going to really center in on this identity. And knowing who you are is really the basis, the groundwork that's laid for getting at these answers that are so imperative and that everyone is really searching for in some way, shape, or form. And if we used a visual framework for really understanding what this looks like, if you look at this as all these concentric circles like a target, at the very core of that, these are things that are very constant, that are things that are true about you, whether you're 9 years old or you're 90 years old. And obviously, we're people who are growing and learning more about ourselves, but there are things that are pretty fixed. Whereas the more you work outward towards kind of the tail, the outer rings of that circle, the more that things are changing and are evolving, and they're going to be more variable and something that really moves over time. So in all of this, really understanding the who all the way to the when and arriving at a question of who you are, let's talk a little bit just more about who. At the center of this circle, the very center of this circle, our questions are so important. And maybe you're meeting someone for the first time. We've all experienced this. There's lots of different circumstances in our life. And then they ask that question. Who are you? Tell me about you. What's your story? And I don't know about you, but that has been a question that when I've gotten it at certain times in my life before really wrestling with these questions, I wasn't exactly sure how to answer. I didn't have a fixed answer. It wasn't something I would answer the same way every time. I didn't have that clarity that was so important to me. And so I want to stress, though, this at the very outset, that as much as we get those questions and we may think to ourselves, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that, you are not the worst thing that you've done. Sometimes we can think, hey, I've done these things, so therefore I am whatever it is that we lie to ourselves about. And that's not true. But here's the other true thing, that even what you're doing, so often we can answer, oh, I am the CEO of a company, or I am working at this place, or I am the husband or wife of this person, or I am the mom or dad. Those are not the things that are true about who you are. And you're not even why you exist. You're not this purpose statement that I referenced earlier. I'll share my purpose soon here, but it's not even that you are the reason you wake up. And you're definitely not a label that's been either ascribed to you from others or something that you've taken on yourself. You are absolutely you. And the uniqueness of you is important to know. And it's, again, the basis from which we can discover all these other answers to questions that are so important for us. More than that, you've been fearfully and wonderfully made. You are someone who is so beautiful and unique. And I love this quote from Richard Grant. He's an actor, Oscar-nominated actor, and he says, the value of identity, of course, is that it so often comes with purpose. And identity is so tied and connected to that idea of purpose. So let me tell you a little bit about me. It's not to put the spotlight on me, but to give you an example. In 20 words, I did this a long time ago, and I had fun with it. I thought through, hey, what are some words that are both fun as I describe myself to people, but also things that are true about me. For those of you who especially appreciate a couple fun things about me. Number one, I really love movies, so I'm definitely a film nerd. I don't know about you, but iced Americanos, that's where it's at for me. I'm a caffeine fiend, and I love a good iced Americano. And also a cranial nudist. Bald is not a four-letter word. It is something that is beautiful. I own that dome. And so those are some fun things about me, but also all these other things are true. I'm a family man. I'm absolutely a lover of people. I'm a community builder. These are things. But if I had to just summarize myself into 3 words, I would say that I am a son, I am a shepherd, and I am a starter. These are things that are absolutely true about who I am, and they're things I can't escape. So how did I get at that? Well, let's talk about that, because it's important to say, how is it that we can discover who we are? How is it that we can have the type of clarity that you could say, this is who I am in a few words, and letting that be the basis from which you do all other things? There are a lot of tools out there, and one of the tools I love personality assessments. I love personality assessments. And it's fun because it really does arrive at getting answers for yourself about some things that are unique about you, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your core motivations, behaviors, how you work best, so on and so forth. There are a lot out there, but 3 I'll highlight in particular. One is Myers-Briggs. It's also called the MBTI. There's a website online I'll tell you about. It's called 16personalities.com. They have a great amount of resources for arriving at answering this question of who you are. For me, I am an ENFP, a campaigner, and each one of those letters means something unique. There's I or E, introvert or extrovert. I'm an extrovert. There is N or S, which is intuition or sensing. I'm intuition. There is F or T, it's feeling or thinking. I'm a feeler. And there's P or J, it's perception or judgment. I'm perception. And all of that adds up to this idea of me being a campaigner. There's also this other secondary test I'll tell you about. It's called the DISC. And the DISC is looking at your dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. And one of the things you can see heavily about me is that I'm a dominating influencer. And that's who I am. It's really how it wraps up into some of this test. And they have a lot of details about what that means and what that looks like, to also be low on some of these other factors, steadiness, compliance. There's also other tests, and then the third thing I'll say is the Enneagram. And the Enneagram has been most useful for me because it really arrives at some of those motivations. And so I am a 7. There are 9 types, and I'm a 7, which is frequently called the enthusiast. I'm actually a 7 with a wing 8. Now, these are not end-all be-alls. I'm not just attaching these labels to myself, but they do arrive at giving me a lot of insight for myself so that I can start to answer those questions about who I am. And from all of these, they have really helped me look at, from all of the things I've known about myself, from all of the things that people have said about me that have been encouraging and true about the very nature of who I am, from these personality tests, from these things that I would say are important to me and valuable. I went through the process of just writing down 24 words that most resonated with me from all of these different sources, from the people I love, from my history. And when I did that, I started to really then start to cut down. What are the things that are most important? And start to identify themes. And then how is it that I could start to summarize those and cut those down and start crossing out the ones that don't fully align, or maybe even starting to find some synonyms where there's crossover, using something like a thesaurus to really help me do that. So as I started to really cut down to those core words that were so important to me, that were things that I felt like till my dying day would be true about me, these are the words that I felt very much represented me most of all. I do things from the place of sonship. That very much has a quite a bit of spiritual connotation for me, but it's also something that if I just explain that to someone else, I can say that I'm trusting and knowing that I'm safe, and I'm cared for, provided for, and that I know that I am being looked out for. And that is something that's so true about how I go about then operating in all of my capacities, even as a husband and even as a father, knowing that first and foremost, I am a son. Shepherd, that I am someone who really cares about those in my community. I'm someone who loves to make sure that there's community being built and cultivated and people are being cared for. And then last but not least, as a starter, I love to create. It's something I've done from my very beginning, and early on in my life, I knew that I loved to create something out of nothing. And that has taken shape in business ventures and in events and in communities. And I love starting things, but I'm not going to be the person that's there for 20 years or 30 years. No, I'm going to be there probably in those first 0 to 3 to 5 years, And knowing that allows me to design my life in such a way that I am starting things well. So with all of this, now that I know who I am, and if you go through a similar approach to really wrestling with using tools and also the things that people have said about you that are true, even working through that with people who are mentors and influencers, arriving at those answers for yourself is the basis from which you can really go about learning all of these other things and applying to how it is that you live your life on purpose. And my purpose, which answers that second question of why, it goes to that next outer circle, is that I live on purpose to love radically, investing my whole inheritance, again, I've received, as a shepherd and starter in Christ. But whatever that looks like for you, what is it that you're setting out to do in the communities in which you find yourself? And how is it that you reflect who it is you are at your innermost being, and do that with a level of confidence and clarity that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what punches come your way, you know you can continue to pursue that regardless of what it is that you're doing, where it is that you live, how old you are, or how much challenge you're experiencing, that it's something you can do in whatever context you find yourself. So here's a question for you. With all of this, what's that look like for you? How is it that you can take this and apply this? One of the most important things is to recognize that life is a journey, not a destination. That for me, even having written my first purpose statement 20 years ago in my life and starting to hone that and use it as really a working draft, I know that I've learned more about myself in that process. I've refined it. And it's not just that I arrived at having clarity, but it's that I have been on a journey to really learn who is it that I am and how is it that I reflect and impart that into the world in a way that serves others and puts them before myself. And so this is a journey that I've been on, and I invite you to that journey. And I know you are already on that journey. We all have different ways of going about that. We have different stories. But the important thing to remember is that no one can be you. Everyone else is already taken. You have a story and an identity that is unique, an imprint upon the world that is important to make. And also that clarity we talked about, which is so important. It comes not just from thinking about these things, but from taking action. And you are taking action. And that is what's important. You're taking steps forward and arriving at answers for yourself that set you on the path forward in that journey. So I would encourage you, keep going, know who you are, learn who you are, use those personality tests, ask others if they had 1 to 3 words to describe you, how would they describe you? Pursue your purpose. Go after really understanding and uncovering what it is that you were put on planet Earth for and why it is that you wake up every morning, because only you can fulfill that. And it's important. It's imperative. Hone and simplify and clarify those pieces and answers that you're getting at. And know that there's different seasons of life. And again, the punches are going to come. That's inevitable. That is life. The question is, what are you going to do with it? And how are you going to use those opportunities to get even more clear to keep going forward? Those are the things that as you do them, you're taking the licks, you're doing the work to really arrive at some of those answers. Even though there's no shortcut to the good stuff, I tell you, each lick is going to be worth it. So I would leave you with an opportunity to learn more about this framework of who all the way to when, who, why, where, what, how, and when, to uncover the essence of who you are and the essential ways to live the rest of your life on purpose. If you are interested in that, you can go to bedogou.com, and it's 100% free for you when you use the discount code EMPOWER. And within that, you will receive opportunity to take an entire course to learn more about discovering your purpose. And with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I want to open it up to your questions.
Jonathan, that was incredible.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. And I needed that today. I will have to say, and I'm going to take the course.
I'm going to take it with you, Karen.
I'm signing up after we get off. I'll send everybody a recap email. I wrote down all the Myers-Briggs, the 16 personalities. I've taken all those, but I'll send a recap out so that everybody has those.
It's crazy because I was taking screenshots.
You were. I'll send out a recap email to everybody. Don't worry.
Thanks, Kathy.
Jonathan, I want to know, have you ever been shaken in your purpose? Like, I know that you said that you had come up with your purpose 20 years ago, so you must have been pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
And that's incredible that you knew that at that young of an age, because I still struggle, you know?
Yeah.
Ever been shaken off of that a little bit and then had to like come back?
Well, let me speak to that, and it's a great question. So first of all, I would say the draft I had at 20 years old of my purpose was something that was too long, had too many commas. I say, actually, the goal of our purpose statement is the opposite of our net worth. It should have less commas, not more, because we're always trying to cram more in. But I will say that the core, the framework for what it is that my purpose is today was there.
Yeah.
And it really continued to simplify, at least in words. And life definitely, again, happens. There's all sorts of things that you aren't expecting. But because my purpose statement is not connected to my profession,
Right.
what I do, a particular aspect of maybe what I'm setting out to achieve in a particular season, I would say that I haven't been shaken as some can be in that. Now, if I connected it too much to one of those things, let's say I connected my purpose to what I'm doing as an entrepreneur for a particular season, and then I'm no longer doing that business, well, then what happens to my purpose? What happens to me? Well, I don't stop existing, but a lot of people tie their identity to what they do rather than who they are.
Right.
So
they tie it to their ego. You can't tie it to your ego.
So I'd say the good purpose statement should be the same whether you are 9 or 90 years old, that it can be true about who you are and how you show up. And when you think of it in that context, it changes how you approach it. Lolo, no.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that. Does anybody, I want to open it up to everybody else on the call. Does anybody else have any reactions or questions for Jonathan?
I would just want to say I commend him because he put his faith first, and he definitely, I like the fact, I just liked the rundown about your background, about your family, your priorities are just so in line that I commend you on them. And it's hard to find someone who recognizes that. I mean, not saying, because I know I'm not like trying to go Bible thumper, but I appreciate you. I will say that.
Thank you, Lysandra.
I will say that. And you said a lot of good things that really I had to own in with myself. Like, maybe I don't acknowledge certain things about me that maybe I should take more time to, just to nurture and see where they grow.
I love what you just said, Lysandra. One of the things that might be a trap for some, and actually I was just talking about it with Dom here actually just the other day, is how sometimes some people can feel like when they have that type of clarity, or they use those words, that maybe it's actually getting almost egotistical or arrogant to say, well, I am these things. But actually, Noah, it's a really humble position to recognize how it is that you've been made. That, first of all, I would say that all of those things about me, it's not because I did something, it's because of who I am innately from the very get-go.
Yeah.
And so when we recognize those things, it's a really humble position. And then we can go forward in our life operating from that place of recognition and humility to say, this is who I am. And now it was a gift to me. And now I need to go out into the world and be a gift to others and serve others. And this is how I get to do it.
I love that. Kathy, go for
That's
it.
just kind of like I've learned to reframe my past hurts and pain to turn it around to help others and understand on their level instead of reading it from a book.
Yes. Well said. I love that.
That's meaningful, Kathy. That's so good. Reframing the past hurts. And honestly, our story, who we are, is a conglomeration of all sorts of experiences, traumas, relationships, events, but also not avoiding, those aspects that have been true about us from the very get-go. And so it is an opportunity there's actually a phrase out there, to be a wounded healer, that the place of our wounds, the places we've been wounded, are the places where we can administer the most healing in the world. And so what you said is exactly that. And that's a beautiful thing.
Have you ever seen it just brought up something for me, the Japanese art that when plates are broken, they seal it with gold? Because that's actually
I have not.
Yeah, so when things are broken, they seal it with gold because that's your gift, basically.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah. So, Dom, do you want to share where this video will be showcased for all of us in the Go program to go back and watch it? And, we'll probably, Jonathan will probably rewatch. I know I'm going to be rewatching this. So thank you so much. But I think it's going to be hosted in Journey Age. Is that correct, Dom?
Yes. So we will post it on the resources tab within Journey Age, which is called Pages. Where you access your courses, right next to it, there's a section called Pages. So we'll have it there, and we'll also have all of the resources that Jonathan mentioned within that page. So all of the personality tests and the link to BDO Go U with the discount code will be there as well. And I will say, as a student of BDO Go U, it is comprehensive. The videos in total are 4 hours, just if you watch them back to back. And there's a booklet that you'll print out that has 100 pages in it. And so I would just encourage you to take your time as you go through it and reach out to us, because it is very, very difficult. Jonathan quickly showed his words from 20 to 3. And that's a hard thing to do. And if you need help or encouragement in that, please reach out to Jonathan or I. We'd love to help you in that. And then the last thing I would say is find somebody to do it with. Maybe it's someone on this call. Doing it with somebody, you'll get so much more out of it. So I encourage that as well.
Maybe bring it. That's a great idea, Dom. Maybe bring it to your mentor. Maybe bring it to your next mentoring relationship, and do it together with your mentor.
That's a great idea, Karen.
Yeah. So does anybody want to share anything else before we go? Emma, I don't know if you're still on the call. Do you want to share anything?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
good. Awesome. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Jonathan, for hosting this session. I, for one, am inspired over again. I did sign up for your course and started it, and I haven't had a chance to continue. And now I'm thinking that that should be my self-care to myself in the next weeks coming up so I can get back into it. I'm always trying to think of, how can I be, helping out myself? And I always love also relate to you so much on personality assessments. I just take them all, and then I have like millions of screenshots in my phone of every personality assessment I've ever taken. So highly recommend that, guys. It's really fun.
One thing I would just add, I love that you just shared that, Emma. First of all, caring for yourself, investing in yourself, that's so important. You're all doing that. So kudos to you in investing in yourself and the time that's necessary to continue to develop. It's an important skill that is to always be a lifelong learner. And secondarily, I would say, just even give that some mental thought. Even if you just started to do that now, how is it that people have described you in the past? What are things that are true about you that have always been there? And pay attention when you take those personality tests. Use a highlighter, use a pencil to really circle the words that occur more often or that just resonate very deeply with you. And that's an important, helpful way to get at some of that clarity about who it is that you are.
And I want to just add to that, because I struggle with this, is actually believe the words that you see written and believe the words that people are saying to you. Because I always are like, no, that's not real. Kathy, go ahead.
So for a long time, I had to, before I started really believing that I loved myself and believing that, I took it and I wrote it on my mirror. So whether I said my confirmations or not, I read them. So that I said them mentally, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I need to do that again. It's a constant practice. It's a constant battle. So yeah, thank you for that reminder. We all need to remind each other. So thank you, Kathy.
What you just said, Kathy, is so valuable. Putting it in front of yourself and letting your mind be renewed by those things that are true about you, and affirming those things and confirming those things. So that's a great practice, whether you put it on a laptop screen, on your phone screen, on a mirror, in a picture frame, right when you wake up every morning, or on your ceiling before you go to bed at night. Seeing those things is really helpful.
Jonathan, I just love you. I'm so glad that you did this for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And Jonathan is going to be hosting our next fireside chat as well. The do's and don'ts of business on May 10th. So we will all see you again soon. And
Great.
Much
I look forward
gratitude.
to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.